making part 2 of Lollie Talks. But anyways, go watch part 1. Part 2 will, if you don't watch part 1, you won't understand part 2, which is this one. So my crush was begging me to get up and sing, and so I'm okay, I'll in my mind I'm okay, I'm just gonna do a little bit of Let It Go, leave it at that. And it worked out really good, and that was part of why I started singing, and that part of why I fell in love with music and making music videos. Then it kind of just came to a point where then and something similar happened again soon, eventually later, or where we had a lot of people showed up to music class. I really didn't want to because it was a lot of people, and I'm the type where I can sing in front of people that I don't know. For you guys, I do it like it's nothing, because for me it is nothing. But the second I can see people, if I know you, with family, I don't sing in front of family. And the reasoning, there's actually a good reasoning. Two. First up, I never wanted to be the attention seeker from family. That's something that I like in the singing way. But the main reasoning, this is something that my family kind of know, but not fully. And my dad twisted it up and made mistakes. But the reasoning is because I know that when if I'm singing in front of people that I have no clue, I know that they're gonna be honest. They're not gonna hold back. They're gonna tell me that I did horrible if I did horrible. And that's good. That's good for me. It's how I learn. It's how I get better. Versus with family, it's oh, you're the greatest. They're just gonna tell me I'm great even when I'm not. I need to be knocked down. That's who I am. You can't have my spinner, baby. But I do love you. Sorry, yeah, I dropped my spinner and it concerned Sam. And made him want it. But I need to be told I'm horrible. Because that's how I'm gonna learn. That's how I'm gonna learn, and that's how I'm gonna get better. So that's kind of the reason and why I don't sing in front of family. It's because they're gonna tell me I'm great, and if I am, I kind of won't know. If that makes sense. I won't know the difference between them, generally, being straight up truthful and honest that I'm great, and the difference between, oh, we're just saying this we're just saying this because we don't want to be mean. Be mean to me. I'm the type, obviously I don't want people, saying bad words and stuff, or, being really horrible. I want it to be oh, this wasn't your best. But you're gonna do great next time. In a nice way, but honest, but in a nice way. If that makes sense. So, yeah, so, anyway, for a lot of people, so, the story is that a lot of people, I were, at music class and stuff this one day, and I think my crush and me did something together, or, singing wise or something. But I remember, no, I'm not doing this, breaking out, because, singing, and, I was no. To me, people, basically at the point where, everyone was going to be watching me first up. And the fact that, most importantly, my crush was going to be watching me. And me being me, I'm in my shy bubble. And I don't even talk to anyone at music class. like, occasionally, only, like, I would talk to my crush, like, if he said something to me or something. And I'm, like, freaking out in my mind. I'm basically panicking in my mind. And then the teacher comes up to me and is like, so, are you gonna sing part of Let Go? Because that was always, like, my go-to song. And I'm like, no. I just kind of, like, slightly, like, very quietly went like, nope. And she was like, okay, you don't have to, but you're good at it. And and then my crush had overheard the thing, and I could tell from his face, like, he was like, nope, not giving up that easily. Only not going down without a fight, you know? And then, like, come on, you're really good at it. And it, like, come on, like, you're really good at it, like, you're amazing, like, just sing Let It Go. Oh, and I'm like, in my mind, I was back and forth because on the one hand, my crush was telling me to do it. And that means I kind of have to do it in my mind because I'm like, on the other hand, I really didn't want to do it. It was a mixture of things, a mixture of feelings. And so I finally just went like, he was like, I'll be watching, like, you're gonna do amazing. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then he went and told the teacher. And then, like, when it came down to it, I'm like, the entire time I'm like, okay, in my head I'm like, just look at the floor and look at my crush. Just back and forth. Luckily, I got it over with pretty quick. And then, yeah, that was that situation. And then that same, like, situation happened again, but way worse one time. Like, to the point where I was dead set, like, gonna be like, no. Like, even if my crush begged me, I was not gonna do it. And the reasoning was because we had, like, a new assistant, we had, like, a guy, and then I'm like, but also on top of that, what happened was that the teacher asked me, and then we were getting ready to do one thing, like, outside. And then what happened was that, and I, like, said no, because I obviously wasn't going to do it. There was, like, a large amount of people, like, half the room was just people sitting. And, like, watching, like, knowing that, like, half the room was going to be people sitting, staring at me, singing. And people that I know, and people that some of them I'm not the most comfortable with because I barely know them and stuff, like, I just was, like, uncomfortable with some of them. And it was nothing up against them. But, like, I was definitely somewhat, like, uncomfortable in that situation. And then my crush, like, came up and, like, obviously he, like, did his thing and, like, begged me to do it. And finally, I think what happened was that finally, only I was like, no. I straight up went like, no, I'm not doing this. And I straight up told him no. And he was like, what if I do it with you? Or something. Or, like, there was something. I don't even think he, like, did it with me or something. Like, he might have. Yeah, I think he did, now that I'm thinking about it. And so we went outside, and then all of a sudden we're on our way, and he, like, with the most excitement, said, Lollie, go sing for us. And I'm like, that was my reaction. I'm okay, Sam. I'm okay, baby. Sam, I'm okay, baby. Yeah, you good boy. He got concerned from that and had to pop his head up from his nap to make sure I was okay. That's a good boy. And then I'm like, made the situation worse. And then my dad's like, do you want me to come in? And I'm like, no. And no. Like, and I'm like, that's kind of like, in that moment, I just went like, no. Oh, and that sounds rude. But afterwards, like, my dad understood. Because at this point, he already knew. Like, he understood. And then finally, like, got in there and, like, we're getting ready to, like, go on. And I'm, like, or, like, sing. And I'm, like, freaking out in my brain. Like, there can't be any worse of a situation for me. Like, it's one of my worst nightmares. But I did it. I, like, made it through. And then luckily afterwards, music class was, like, done. Other than we had, like, one more thing left. And the music class was done. And then I'm giving you the full story because I never gave you the little details from after. Or then afterwards, my crush, like, came up and like, you did a great job. And, like, and then we walked out into the waiting room together. And I think, now that I'm thinking about it, I think this was when I tried to tell him I liked him or something. I don't. Well, yeah, I think it was. And then, and like, we walked out and like, he tried to hold my hand and stuff. And we got out and then like, I'm like, still traumatized at this point. And then we like go outside and then I got really nervous and then like, it was a situation. It was a situation. And because I talked really fast and then like, but at the end, looking back on it now, I'm like, in that moment, I was traumatized. It took me a while to get over being traumatized. And by a while, I mean a week. But now I'm like, I'm glad that I got it done. Because if I never would have got it done, and never would have done it, and just went like, no. And made no the final answer, I feel like in ways, and I won't be the same now. So, and so, like, it's just really, like, interesting, but, like, for me, like, yeah, like, I definitely feel like one thing that I will say, one of the times that, like, I really got pushed, or by my crush, kind of, out of my comfort zone, was, well, there were two stories. I'm going to start with one. And I think this was the first one, but it might have been the second one. Nope, now that I'm thinking about it, it was the second one, I feel like. One of them happened first, one of them happened later. Or don't have them in order in my brain, okay? But I just know they happened. And then, which was that, like, this one time, it was, like, just barely, like Christmas had just passed. And, like, basically, like, we were doing, like, partner dance. And, like, in my brain, I'm like, please let me be with my crush. Please let me be with my crush. Considering this was the second time that, like, we did partner dance, like, sort of thing. And the first time, I got a very bad partner. I'll say that, considering, first of all, it was very awkward the first time because me being me, I was, like, very uncomfortable and just awkward and, like, shy. Then, on top of it, the second thing was that my partner gave up halfway through. I'm not joking. Halfway through, my partner stops dancing, sits down to take a break. Yeah, that's not a very good partner. But anyways, I was happy about that. Because it meant I didn't have to do anything. And then I could just dance on my own. And so one thing went to, or where I got partnered with my crush, and then, so we were like starting, and then he just started talking to me like it was nothing, and I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like I was so excited, like freaking out with that excitement. And yeah, see, I'm just asleep right now, being a good boy and being cute. And and we went on a full conversation, so I end up one of the moments I'm like, I knew, like I knew, and I was like, I have to say something to him, because either I don't tell him, which is kind of what ended up happening, or I could tell him and potentially ruin our friendship, or just ruin everything, or work out really good. So anyways, I basically we had a good conversation about Legos. That was fun, and Star Wars Legos, and Star Wars. And I think at one point in there was a conversation about Nerf guns. And I feel like there might have been something else. But what made me realize was I basically cannot make eye contact with anyone. I can't, I always kind of look like I am, but I'm also slightly looking to the side, like this the entire time, looking towards the side the entire time, or looking up or down. I can't make direct eye contact. That is something about me. But I apparently can with my crush. And I went yes, I have to tell him. But I am gonna end this here. So after I tell you, my new song is kind of about finding the person that my crush knows I am and bringing that person back.